Planning to do is I am planning to summarize what I said last in the last presentation, the first half of the presentation, and then start with the second half of the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the agenda was I spoke a little bit about lunar astronomy. All over the world, people started with the lunar astronomy. And the moon's so beautiful at different times of the day. And it goes round and round and round and round, changes size, and it's a regularity. And when people didn't have things to write down and things like that, that was very good. Huh? And so Hindu calendar was, the olden Hindu calendar was also a lunar calendar. So I spoke about the lunar calendar, in particular, the one that we follow in the Ekta Mandir. And then I spoke about the Roman Julian calendar. And the Romans were sort of following a solar calendar, but it was kind of like a lunar. It wasn't working very well. So Julius Caesar came and created the modern calendar. So I spoke about that. And then I spoke about the adoption of the Julian calendar in the various parts of the world. So that is what we are following. And so that's it's. I
શીખવાનું calendars આપણે કેવી રીતે
if somebody's talking, please mute.
Okay. One
Okay. So then I spoke.
સામે અવાજ જાય એટલે.
Yeah.
Hold on, Ramu bhai. Prakash bhai, why don't you mute the others?
Okay.
Please.
So the key point I presented was the different phases of the moon. Like if you look at the moon, there is a quarter of a moon, half moon, full moon, and so on. And when you look at it from the northern hemisphere, you will see what you see at the tops. And if you look at it from the southern hemisphere, you will see what is at the bottom. It's kind of difficult to imagine, but just imagine that the moon is moving around the equator, sort of, and you are just to the, above that in the northern hemisphere and below that in the southern hemisphere, then you will see why it's kind of a flip image. And to the right here, I'm hoping that you can see my pointer. So you see the real pictures of the faces of the moon. It takes about 29 to 30 days. So they average it about 29.5 days. And that causes problem. That's the source of our problem. Because 29.5 days, if you wait for the moon going around the earth 12 times in a year, it comes to 354 days. It's really not 365 days. Whereas your real life is really dependent on the sun. You don't go to sleep because the moon rose, or you don't wake up because of the moon set and things like that. See? Your life is dependent on the sun. See? And the seasons are also dependent on the sun. So people have to synchronize the lunar calendars, which they could follow quite easily, but it had to sync up with the tropical calendar, which is the solar calendar. So they had to do all kinds of Adhik Mas and other things. So that was the big problem throughout the world. And another thing we spoke about was that the difference between the sidereal lunar month and the synodic lunar month. Sidereal lunar month is, say, if you have a new moon, okay? New moon means moon is between the earth and the sun. And so the sun is shining at the back of the moon. So we don't see it from the earth. So you would think that if the earth turns 360 degrees, you would come to another new moon. Unfortunately not. Because the earth is also moving at that time. So you have to move another 30 degrees before you will get another new moon. Okay, so it has to move 390 degrees before you get another moon. So it's a little more than a circle. Okay. So in a year, the moon goes around Earth about 13 times or a little more than that. And not only that, I said the moon's orbit also keeps moving. It is an elliptical orbit, but the ellipse itself moves. Okay, and it takes about 8.5 years to circulate around that. And that is why you see giant moons, full moon, giant moons at different times of the year. Because if it comes to the closest point of the Earth, then you get those big moons. But the point where it gets those full moons, which are very big, keeps changing. And then I spoke about solar eclipse and how the solar eclipse forms. And the key thing is that if you wait another 40,000 years, you will never see a full solar eclipse because the moon is going further and further away from us. And I showed them an eclipse from the Varanasi, which Dr. Kotecha witnessed in person. So I won't do that now. Maybe if you have time later on, I'll show you another eclipse, full solar eclipse that happened in Chennai. Yeah? And then I spoke about lunar eclipse. And the nice thing about lunar eclipse is that when you get full lunar eclipse, the moon is red because the sun's rays get bent through the Earth's atmosphere, and it bends once again and hits the moon, and only the red light hits the moon. So, then I spoke about Hindu's lunar calendar. Hindu lunar calendar is a forever calendar. Forever calendar meaning you can use the same calendar every year because the events don't change in a lunar calendar. Ram Navami comes on Chaitra month on the Navami day. Navami, we may associate it with Ram Navami, but Navami really means 9th day. Ashtami means 8th day. See? I used to think Ekadashi means fasting, but Ekadashi is not fasting. It's just 11th day. See? So it falls on the same day forever and ever and ever. Pradosham always falls on the Trayodasi days. Okay? And Ekadashi falls on the 11th day. See? And there is a two halves. One is the Shukla Paksha, that means going from the Amavasya to Purnima, new moon to the full moon. And there is a Krishna Paksha, which goes from the full moon to the new moon. And then if you look at the Indian Panchang and all, Panchanga is a Tithi. Tithi is like a equivalent to a date, but it's not exactly a date. Sometimes the Tithi repeats on 2 different days. Like here on 16th and 17th, it's both Panchami. Because the Tithi for the day depends on what is the Tithi at sunrise of the next day. Let's see, the 16th, what happens is the Tithi ends at 8:02 a.m. Whereas on the 17th, the sunrise is at 5:05. See? So the sunrise comes much later. So at sunrise, the Tithi is still Panchami. See? So Panchami gets repeated on 16th and 17th. See? So you will see this frequently in the Indian calendar.
But Ramu, Tithi itself means day, right?
Not really.
Date?
No, it's just a duration of time.
Duration of time.
On to moonrise and moonset.
Okay.
It is the duration, it takes 12 degrees, time it takes for the moon to move 12 degrees. And that changes with where the moon is in the orbit.
So what is the duration of the Tithi?
Time it takes to move 12 degrees.
Okay.
And it takes to move 12 degrees for a moon changes what part of the ellipse the moon is.
Okay.
Okay. If it is closer to the Earth, it is faster. It's just shorter. But if it is further away, it is longer. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the lunar Tithi, as I said, is average 29.5 days. So what happens is we have to make up for 11 days to match it up with solar calendar. So there is a surplus time here or a deficit here to match it with the solar calendar. So 11 days here. In the second year, what happens is it starts from here, the lunar calendar. So there is 22 days deficit here. See? And on the third year, there's a 33-day deficit here. 33-day deficit, there are 30 tithis in every lunar month. So they said, okay, 33 days, let's plunk in an Adhik Mas. Adhik Mas means an extra. See? Adhik Mas. So they plunk in an Adhik Mas. So 2020 had an Adhik Mas. See? So 2020 had an Adhik Mas, Ashwin. The Ashwin Mas was an Adhik Mas. So in September, instead of going from the previous one to Ashwin, we came to Adhik Ashwin, and then the next month is called Nija Ashwin. Nija means in Sanskrit, real Ashwin. And on Adhik Mas, you're not supposed to do any auspicious thing. You just pray. That's the main thing. See?
Ramu, is it for the whole Adhik Mas you're not supposed to do auspicious things?
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
So is it 3 years? After 3 years, it's Adhik Mas, right?
Sometimes 2 years, yeah.
So next will be 2022 or 2023.
I don't know, but I can find out for you, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And a little bit about lunar orbit. We think the moon just goes round and round, but the thing is that the astronomy is not that simple. It's been made by God to make it confusing for us and complex for us. What happens is the moon is not going around the Earth. Earth and moon are going around a common point called barycenter of the two objects. So the Earth is going around its barycenter, and the moon is going around the same barycenter. Earth and moon has the same, it's like the center of gravity kind of thing, see? So it goes around the center of gravity. But the interesting part is that the barycenter is within the Earth, okay? So the center of the moon goes around the barycenter, which is within the Earth, 1,000 miles below the surface. So what happens is the moon is really not going in a circle. It's going, when it's going around the sun throughout the year, it's kind of taking a zigzag motion. Zigzag motion. And not only the moon is taking a zigzag motion, so is the Earth. Earth is also taking a zigzag motion, but a more flatter one than a moon. So we are not going in a straight line. So we're going kind of wavy motion. So the moon speed is about 1.08 kilometers a second. Earth speed about 30 kilometers per second. Earth goes pretty fast. So then we switched over to the Roman calendar. I had a few more details in the last presentation. And so the Roman calendar in 670 BC, before that, what they had was they pretty much slept during the winter months. They couldn't do anything. January, February, they couldn't do anything. So they just had a calendar for 10 months. And the calendar started from March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. See? Then the second king of Rome in 670 BC said that, hey, we should make this calendar which is good for 12 months. See? So he added 2 more months. And he added 2 more months. So he added February 1st and the January 2nd. We don't know the real history behind all this thing. If you search internet, they will tell you some story to make you happy, but nobody really knows how and why it all happened. And about 200 years later, somebody had some other reason why they said that, hey, why February should not be the first, it should be the second month. January should be the first month. So in 450 BC, they decided January should be first, and we are stuck with that in 2021. So that's the history behind January to December. Now, here again, they had a problem. They were very afraid to stay away from the moon too much because moon is the one that gives you the periodic motion, very nice periodic motion. Yeah. And so their number of days was 355. The year was still 365 days. So there is still a deficit of 10 days here, just like the Hindu calendar. They too had a forever calendar, and it was all carved in stone, permanent calendar. And what they used to do was the Adhik Mas, the Romans used, they used to put in the middle of February. And the reason they put in the middle of February, because they had some important functions or festivals happening at the end of the February. And the way they used to count the days was, they didn't count first day, second day of the month, third day of the month. They used to count reverse. Okay, 1 day before the end of the month, 2 days before the end of the month, and so on. So if they had any festivals here, 26th and 27th, they could still say 2 days before the end of the month, because Adhik Mas fell in between. Okay. That's what they did. It may not be logical, but that's what they did. Yeah? And then what they did was, they too had to put an Adhik Mas. So, oh, okay, sorry. So I didn't get into, okay. They too had to put an Adhik Mas, which they put here. And later on, what they did was, okay, I'll skip this file, sorry, because it's breaking my flow. Okay. So then I spoke about Julius Caesar reform to the calendar. Julius Caesar's reform to the calendar, what they did was, they made the year 365 days finally. They said, let us ignore the moon for a while. See, it's causing us enough problems. Because the politicians used to play mischief with the Adhik Mas. Adhik Mas was considered inauspicious. So if there is a war or famine or something, they wouldn't hold the Adhik Mas because it'll make it worse. Okay. The politicians said that if I am in power, hey, let me add an Adhik Mas. I'll be in power for another month. Okay. So they played all kinds of mischief. So the real days were out of whack. Yeah? So Caesar, who was very powerful, successful, and so let's cut down all this nonsense. Let us adopt from the Egyptians, who are smart guys, who used to have 365 days a year. So he adopted that. But he was a politician also, so he didn't want to adopt the Egyptian calendar, which is very simple. That's my favorite calendar too. And I'll tell you why. See? And they played games with the number of days in the month, and they somehow made it 365 days. And they said every 4 years, we will have a leap year. Okay? And that will sync up the seasons with the month that they are using, and the disruption in the season and the divergence between the season and the calendar will be just 1 day. And who really notices 1 day? See? And the disruption is also minimal. See? So they had 365 days finally, and a 1 day leap year. And this was not perfect, but it took them 1500 years and a few mathematicians from India to fix it.
Wow.
Rest of the presentation. So we all can be proud that we fixed the calendar. And the nice thing about this was that they called a sculptor and printed another forever calendar. The old forever calendar wouldn't work because it had only 355 days. So here they had 365 days. And they had a sort of an 8-day week, 8-day week. 8th day was the market day. And so they used to have market day, which eventually became a holiday. See? All right. So they had a February, they repeated the 24th, February 24 to make it a leap year. That's how they introduced leap year. First February 24, second February 24. Okay. And this one I'm going to go quickly. Now, the reason they had to do all this thing was the year was really 365 and the quarter days. So in order to make up for the quarter day, and since we are using only 365 days in a year, they had to introduce the leap year. Now, if they were to use the quarter day, what would happen is that you would have January 1st to December 31st and another quarter day. Okay. So that quarter day would be removed from the next year. Okay. So the next year, January 1st would be shorter. And here you could make it December 32nd or make December 31st longer. See? And if you keep doing that, it will fix everything. But it's so confusing for the people. See, shorter day, longer day, December 32nd, and so on. So they made it this way. They were quite smart people even 2,000 years ago. They said, let's stick in a leap year after 4 years. And now, this is where our big problem comes. Our Earth moves in different ways. One thing is it is at an angle, okay? And it is at an angle like this, and that's why we get the season. If it were not at an angle, we won't get the season. It'll be same season throughout the year. And it also turns like this, okay? It's like a tops. It turns like this. And it also moves left and right like this. And this one happens 41,000 years period. And this is what causes ice age and so on. And this is what is causing the seasons to move a little bit every year, okay? And this one, I'll just quickly show you something. And this is a gyroscope I have. And if it is spinning at an angle, it is bound to turn, okay? So this is an experiment I did at home. So Earth is spinning at an angle, so it is bound to rotate like that. That's the main thing I wanted to show you. Okay. And so going back here, so then I explained how the seasons form because of the angle of the Earth, and then I explained how the seasons start a little bit earlier, 20 minutes earlier every year. And that is being exhibited by equinox. Equinox, when days and nights are equal in length, that happens 20 minutes earlier. The calendar year, they made it 20 minutes shorter. Instead of waiting for the Earth to rotate 360 degrees, they said, we'll stop it 20 minutes earlier. So they matched the calendar with the equinox, so the seasons and the calendar match. So I went to a little more details last time. So that's the start. And then I went to the adoption of the new calendar. And this is the second part. Once it was adopted by the Julius Caesar in Italy, he had already conquered Egypt by that time. Cleopatra was there. See? Cleopatra was a Greek origin person. See? And a lot of history behind that. And so Egypt was conquered by Romans. So Egypt also adopted the 365 days and the leap year. And what they did was they kept their own nice calendar and they just added one more day at the end every 4 years. And then it was also adopted by the city-states. Those were the countries in those days, in those Levant area. Levant area is where all the Palestine is, Israelis and so on, Lebanon and so on. There were several countries, they were also conquered by the Romans, so they adopted that. And the Romans used to call Turkey Asia. Okay? Asia was also conquered by them, so they also followed the thing. But they hacked their all calendars, but they kept the 365 days per year, per a leap year. So it was all equivalent, not necessarily the same. Okay? And here I said that, hey, this is one of the reasons why the Russians celebrate Christmas on January 7th. So I'll come to that, so, for sure. Yeah. And in those days, they didn't have a nice way of specifying a particular year, which year it is. We can say that 2022, this is going to happen. 2020, what happened? 2019, what happened? But in those days, they didn't have a concept of year. What did they do in those days? The Greeks, what they did was, when Alexander became the king, that was their 0th year. And so Greeks started numbering the year long time ago in 230 BC. That's when Alexander came. And the Romans, what they did was they used to elect 2 senators or consuls every few years. And they used to say that during the time of this particular consul, this event happened. That is how they used to name it. And later on, what they did was they said that in the year of this king, 7th year of the King James II of England, such and such an event happened. But then they used to have problems. The 2 kings used to fight. So whose year are you going to mention? 5th year of this king or 7th year of that king? If 3 kings fought, the problems become complex. So all those things used to cause problems. And it was Saint Bede. He was a monk in England. He's the one who proposed that we will use the birth of Jesus Christ as year 0. And that is how we'll name all the years. And we all got stuck with that. And right now that is so dominant and the world is so global that even those other Persia and other countries who insist on having their own calendar follow this. Okay, even Indian follow it. If you follow lunar calendar, we have a different year. Okay, so then see, we have heard of great trade between India and Rome. See, Europe in the olden days. See, from Kerala, they used to export all kinds of things. See, they used to export pepper and pearls from Sri Lanka. And they also used to export monkeys and peacock and cinnamon and all kinds of things. See? And they used to get spices from the Java and Sumatra. Indian traders used to get it and ship it from Cochin. And they all used to go to Rome. Rome was the rich country in those days. See? In about 200 AD or something, Rome was split into 2. And Turkey, the part of Turkey became one part of Rome, and Western Rome, the European part became another Rome. And the European part kind of disintegrated, and the Western part remained. That remained until about 500 AD. See? And there were some big kings there, Constantine and Justinian. They made a lot of mischief, and we still follow that. See? And what this Constantine king did was, he was losing power. See? Like something, the most comparable thing is Zia of Pakistan. See? So he became friendly with Christians, the monks and so on, called a great conference, paid for their trips and other things. And he said, I am going to be the Christian king. See? So I represent the God. The God's power comes through me. See? But as usual, the religion took over the king. That is what happened in Rome too, see? Like in Pakistan. See? So what he did was, he was a powerful king. So they used to have many tax collection years. Every 15 years, they used to revise the taxes, just like they do here. They revise the tax every few years. And then some parts of the kingdom, they used to have every 14 years. Other part of the kingdom, they had every 5 years. So he unified all those things and made it every 15 years, we will revise the taxes. Okay? So what the people used to do was on the, and they used to call it indiction. So they used to say in the 10th indiction, the 5th year of the 10th indiction, such and such an event happened. Okay? So that's how they used to name the year. But he also did another really bad thing. Bad thing or good thing, depending on who you are. If you are a printer, you would love him, really. He introduced the weekdays, Sunday to Saturday, and Sunday was a holiday. And he said that the weekdays will continue beyond a year. He didn't say that January 1st will always be a Sunday. Okay? If January 1st were always a Sunday, like wherever the week is, you break it. When January 1st comes, you start from a Sunday. If they did that, he could have had a permanent calendar, once again, forever calendar. But since he didn't do that, forever calendar was broken from that point onwards. Every year you had to print a new calendar. Because January 1st, you don't know when it's going to come. Okay? So you had to print a new calendar. So if you're a printer, you allowed it. See? If you're not a printer, not good. See? So he's the one who introduced 7-day week. Okay. And then the first of the year may start in January, but the beginning of the year may be different. Like the fiscal year of many companies start in March and April and so on. So similarly, beginning of the year might start different times. In Julian calendar, the beginning of the year was February 24th. In the Egyptian calendar, beginning of the year was August 29th. And the Roman Asia, it was September 23rd, because it was the birthday of the King Augustus. Augustus was a mighty king. So they wanted September 23rd. And Constantine, when he also made September 23rd first of the year. Then some other parts of Europe adopted December 25th because it's the birth of the Jesus Christ, or something relevant in Christianity. Britain used March 25th for whatever reason, see? And they stuck to that for a long time. See? It's like a fiscal year, see? But it's still the same Julian calendar, 365 days plus a leap year. And then another king had a big influence. And this king was called Charles Magna. And his headquarters was Aachen in Germany. We have seen his palace and so on. See? And his grandfather, Charles Martel, was the one who blocked the expansion of the Islamic Empire in Spain. Spain was under Islamic rule for 700 years, and they did some remarkable things during that time, as you will see soon. See? And the further invasion into France was blocked by his grandfather. See? And what Charles Magna did was, Charles Magna was kind of from a country, see? He didn't like all the sophisticated things. And the months were named January, February, March, after the planets and all. He said, let's trash all those things and call it by the seasons. See? This is winter month. This is the spring month. This is the Easter month and things like that, okay? So he renamed the month. The calendar remained the same, 365 days and leap year, but he renamed the month. The interesting part was that his naming convention survived for 700 years, not 1 year, 2 years, 700 years. And in fact, it still survives in some of the Eastern European countries like Belarus and Bulgaria. They still use that thing. Most of the world uses January, February, and so on. See? So that was one of the big impact of his. See? He's also the one who created the feudal system in Europe. Feudal system means you heard of the knights and chivalry and all. He created that system. What it was he used to give some land to some person and he said, you control the land. When I have to fight some war, you give me some soldiers. So he controlled the land, and the more soldiers he could give, the more land he had. And that's how things was in Europe for a long, long time. See? And for 1,000 years, from 500 to 1500, not much development took place in Europe. They were just fighting. In the fighting skills, they developed quite a bit because they came to India and they defeated the Indian kings and the Middle Eastern kings and took over the land and all in 1492s and other thing. But otherwise, they didn't do very much. And this was the end of the Western Roman Empire, which was called Byzantine. And that was replaced by the Turkish Empire, Ottoman Empire, which lasted until the First World War. After the First World War, Britain and France dismembered the Ottoman Empire and created all the countries in the Middle East. And that is why you will see many of the borders in the Middle East, just a straight line. Because Britain appointed somebody, he said he got to divide the country. He said, take a ruler and draw lines. That's the two countries. That's how they did. And it was during those times, they had all these, they built beautiful castles and monasteries, and they had a lot of crusades. to conquer Jerusalem. See? And when they used to go to Jerusalem and try to conquer Jerusalem, they also acquired some knowledge, but they didn't use that knowledge for a long, long time though. But they acquired knowledge from there. And the interesting part was they also attacked, when they came on this crusade, they also destroyed the beautiful, well-stocked library in Istanbul. See? That was ruled by a Christian king. See? So they didn't leave him, they also destroyed him. See? And we'll come to that. See? So during this 500 to 1500, lots of development took place in the Middle East. See? And without that intervening development, we won't be developed today. Europe won't be developed as it is now. See? We are all following Europe now, right? Middle East is following Europe. We are following Europe. But that was not the case for Europe at one time. In Damascus, after the Muslim rule came in, Muhammad came under 630 AD or something like that. There was an Abbasid dynasty. They built a library, and that library was known as House of Wisdom in the English language. See? And House of Wisdom, what they used to do was they used to collect manuscripts from different parts of the world and stock it there. And if it is a Sanskrit manuscript, they translated it into Arabic and kept it there. And it is in the House of Wisdom, all the Indian knowledge of the great mathematicians and astronomers were saved. And it is from there, it was translated from Arabic to Latin, and then it went to Europe, and then they developed and did a lot of great astronomical works and so on. We'll come to that. And as I said, during the Crusades, the Christians from the Europe also attacked the Istanbul, see? And they destroyed a library there. See? And just before the library was destroyed and all, again, scholars from the Middle East had gone to the libraries and translated many of the Greek works. Greek had a lot of works in Athens, see? Aristotle and so on. Plato, Aristotle, Homer and other things. All those things were translated into Arabic, and they were kept in all these libraries. Yeah? Even Euclid's work. But for the work of all the mathematicians and the learned people of Middle East, we would have lost Euclid's works on geometry. And Spain, the Cordoba and other places in Spain were so prosperous intellectually, that all the scalpel and syringe they use in all the medical field today, they were all invented in Spain by the Muslim scholars, Muslim intellectual. And until the end of the 18th century, an Arabic work on medicine was the standard work on medicine in Europe. And only then did new works were being created. So lots of development today owes to the Islamic scholars and the libraries that were there in those days. And let me show you some connection with the Indian scholars and all. And see, contribution from India was important because we contributed the decimal system. We contributed the decimal system and also zero. People had the concept of zero, but they didn't know how to represent it. One fine day, somebody in India said, let's put a dot there. See? And that is how it started. See? They put a zero there, a physical something you can touch and feel. See? And that helped quite a bit. And initially, all these things were so suspicious to the European that they wouldn't trust the traders from Arabia and India and so on, see, because they thought it's all black magic. In astronomy, a lot of developments could not take place because the numbers were very large. For example, distance to the moon is 238,900 miles. Distance to the sun is million miles. And tropical year is fraction of a day, see, 0.24217 and so on, see. Sidereal year is 0.2563 and all. And the numbering system they had, Roman numerals. Roman numerals were so crappy that these days 10 times 10 is so easy, 100, right? Even a first grade child can do that. Imagine writing it in Roman numerals, x times x equal to c. Does it really make any sense? No logic, no simplicity, nothing. And it is not that they didn't have any system of writing. They did have a system of writing from the Mesopotamians and the Sumerian, but it was the base 60, okay? Base 60. But base 60, it was very difficult to write the numbers. It was very complex. It was very complex, and look at the representation of a number, like 258 and 458, 258,458, writing all the symbols. It was very difficult. Although they had, it's called sexagesimal system. They had a sexagesimal system, it didn't really work. It's only when the decimal system was introduced by India did it really start making it easy to do the computations, okay? And it is from here, we got the 60 minutes to an hour, 60 seconds to a minute, and so on, from the Sumerians and the Babylonians. They use sexagesimal system. So the minutes and the seconds stuck. It is still stuck. We are stuck with that. If you go below the seconds and so on, you have milliseconds and deciseconds and so on, the decimal system. But minutes and seconds, it came from the sexagesimal system of the Mesopotamians and before that, the Sumerians. And what did the Indian guys do? Let's see. Aryabhatta was the genius, okay? If there is one Indian you must be proud of, it is Aryabhatta, okay? And he was an all-rounder. He was a mathematician, he was an astronomer, he was an astrologer, he was everything, okay? And but as usual, Indians in general don't write very much. And Aryabhatta was no different. He wrote poetry. Everything, all his works was poetry. Okay, two-liners, Sanskrit. First of all, in Sanskrit, the difficulty is breaking the sandhi. Where do you break the words? And then to understand what they meant by all those things. So it was difficult to understand what Aryabhatta wrote, but he wrote some real meaningful things. Accurate measurements of the planetary motions, which were not done until then. He also wrote about the decimal system. And after Aryabhatta, the next popular person was Brahmagupta. He came after 150 years, okay? So long, long time after Aryabhatta. Then after that, Bhaskara came, 1150. See? And it is after the Brahmagupta and Bhaskara, lots of things went to the Middle East from India, and from Middle East, it went to Spain, and from Spain, it went to Europe, and lots of development took place in Europe. See? And the initial numbering system was from the Brahmi script and all, the 1 to 9 was written like this, and then it went to closer to the Devanagari, and they also introduced the 0. See? And it is in 770 AD that all this information about astrology and decimal system was all taken by somebody by name Kanaka to the courts of the Caliph Al-Mansur. That's his picture here. And Al-Mansur was one of the people who built that library of wisdom. He translated it into Arabic and put it there. See? And then it progressed, as I said. See? And one of the biggest book that Aryabhatta wrote was Surya Siddhanta. Siddhanta means treatise. Okay? It was revised by Brahmagupta, revised by Bhaskara, and so on. But the original one was written by Aryabhatta. See? And Aryabhatta sort of came after the Greek guys. See? And so there is some Greek influence in Indian astronomy and so on. See? So going here, so these are some of the great Islamic intellectuals. Now, when I say Islamic intellectual, I'm just trying to identify them. They were not fanatic religious people or something as many people associate today. See, they were intellectuals of their time. See? And Ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, he was the algebra man. He's the one who introduced algebra, and we still use the word algebra. He's the one who introduced that. He took several trips to India And he took several trips to Istanbul to translate many, many books from there. And that is how we preserved the Indian knowledge. See? And the thing is that he also jotted down everything about the decimal system and so on. And when India gave the decimal system to the Middle Eastern libraries and so on, we had not introduced the fractional decimal system. The fractional decimal system was introduced by somebody called Abdul Hassan, and he was from Syria. See? Well, you can consider him the long time ago, the Apple computer man, the man from Syria. See? Something like that. See? So he's the one who started using decimal system after the fraction. Okay. And this was from some of the writing in the Arabic books. And Ibn Musa and Abdul Hassan were two great intellectuals, and there were several others. Al-Batani, he wrote several books on Indian trigonometry and so on. And when the Arabs wrote, they wrote fat books with a lot of details and so on. That's what the Europeans got. See? And Al-Biruni, many of us, if you know the history, you won't like him. He's the guy who came with Muhammad of Ghazni. Muhammad of Ghazni came and destroyed many temples, stole some gold and so on. He came with Muhammad of Ghazni, and he translated a lot of manuscripts from India. See? And Omar Khayyam was another Persian astronomer who followed everything from Aryabhatta, and he created a Persian calendar, a taxation calendar, which lasted for 1,000 years. See? And very interesting point about sine and cosine. If you have done trigonometry in your school, we have done sines and cosines, right? It all came from Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta called it Jia and Kojia. Okay? And when it was translated into Arabic, it was translated as Jiba and Kojiba, not Jia and Kojia. He translated it as Jiba and Kojiba. And the Arabic was translated into Latin later on. What that guy did was, he was in a rush. He took Jiba and wrote it as Jaib in Latin, okay? Jaib and Kojaib. And Jaib in Latin means it's a fold in a clothing, like in a sari or a dhoti or something, a fold in a clothing. And the fold in a clothing in Latin is called sine. And that is how we came across sine and cosine. It all came from Aryabhatta. So that is still our legacy. Sine and cosine is Indian legacy, see? Okay, now Persians were the people who never wanted to go through lunar calendar. They always wanted to go by a solar calendar. And Persia used to control Egypt for a long, long time. See, even before the days of Alexander and so on. See, and they had a 12-month calendar, which was 30 days each, and then they used to have an Adhik Mas every 6 years. See? And after some time, when the Darius became the king, he adopted the Egyptian calendar. Egyptian calendar, what they did was they had 12 months of 30 days and another additional month of 5 days. So when they wanted to make it Julian, the Julius Caesar's calendar, they said the last month, which has 5 days, hey, sometimes we'll add one more day, 6 days. And that is what they were following in Persia. And Omar Khayyam also created a calendar, which was a solar calendar, but he followed everything that Aryabhatta did. He was using his measurement. In his solar calendar, the number of days in a month will vary. Just like we have Indian solar calendar, number of days in a month will vary. 31 days, 29 days, 32 days, and so on. Okay, so the Omar Khayyam followed Aryabhatta, created a calendar in 1097. It was followed until 1911 for the taxation. The official calendar was the Muslim calendar because Persia became a Muslim country. And it was modified marginally here and there. And when the Shah came to power, he said the year I won't follow the beginning of the Muslim calendar, which was the birth of Islam. He said, I will follow the beginning of the Zoroastrian kings, Darius or something. But when Khomeini came back from Paris, he said, oh, I don't like Darius. Let's go back to the Muslim start of the Muhammad, start of the Islam. See? So he switched back to the year, but he kept the calendar. Okay. Persians are still partial towards the solar calendar. You know? Now, this is what their calendar looks like. It goes top to bottom, 31 days for 6 months, 30 days for 5 months, and 29 or 30 days in the last month, depending on leap year or not. You know? And another big change came to the Julian calendar. I got to speed up a little bit so that I can finish it today. Say, another big change came in the 1500. It took 1500 years for the next change to come because Julius Caesar had made a mistake. See? He said the year is 365 and the quarter days. Not really. Year was 365 and the quarter days minus 1 over 300 days. Okay. They knew that even when they made the Julius calendar 1500 years ago, but they couldn't do all the arithmetic. They said it's too complicated. We'll just leave it at 365 quarter. And after 1500 years, the days were still shifting. Easter was falling on a crazy days. Equinox was falling very far away from when it is supposed to happen, and so on. So they had to make a correction. They had to make a correction about 10 full days or 11 days. That was the day, correction done by the Pope Gregory XIII. The interesting thing was, even then, the Christian world used to assume that the sun went around the earth, not earth going around the sun. And even Julius Caesar and the great Egyptian astronomer called Ptolemy, they all assumed that the sun goes around the earth. Really crazy, but that was the case. And what they used to see was, they used to see, and using that assumption, the sun is going around the earth, they couldn't explain a few things. The real thing is the sun is, okay, the solar calendar not here. So let me see. So what used to happen was that they couldn't explain how the planets were going in one direction like this, and they would move back, and then they would move forward again. They couldn't explain that with a geocentric world. That means Earth is the center of the world. What they used to say was, Earth is here, all the planets are going around the Earth, and the sun is going around the Earth in an orbit like this. And they couldn't explain the movement of Saturn and the Mercury. And I'll show you how the Saturn and the Mercury shows up in the sky. You will see the Saturn and the Mercury, okay? Just give it a second. You see it's coming. And you see another planet coming here. So it's a compound of photography. They put one photograph on top of another. It's all moving in one direction. And all of a sudden, it's moving in a different direction. See? So if it is going around the Earth, how do you explain that? If all the planets are going around the Earth and sun going around the Earth, how do you explain that? That was their big problem. See? And so what they used to do was, they used to have all kinds of explanation. They used to say that, hey, the planets are going around in a little circle of their own. Besides going around the Earth, they're going in a little circles around themselves, see? Little orbits there. And then they said that, hey, most of the planets are going around the sun, but sun is going around the Earth. Okay. So they used to have crazy explanation. Earth was still supreme. See? Sun goes around the Earth, but every other planet was going around the sun. So they used to have crazy explanation like that. See? And so if we go with the sun as the center of the solar system, it's so easy to explain. But if you take Earth as the center of the solar system, this is how the map, the orbits look like. So convoluted. Okay. And it took early 1500s to really say that, hey, Earth is not the center, sun is the center. But those days were so bad that he was afraid of the church. And he released this book one day before he died. Because now, how can they punish him? He's dead. So he published the book one day before he died. And that was the time when the Reformation came and the Protestant religion started. The Protestants were even more stubborn. They said, Earth is the center of the solar system. It cannot be the sun. So it took another 80 years or something before they could make the correction. The Pope made that correction, as I said. See? And even then, they used to assume that Earth is the center of the planetary system. See? And then Galileo came and he had a telescope and he could see things. And what the Pope did was, and his helper was Christopher Clavius, he also said that Earth is the center. What they did was in 1582, in the month of October, it was 1st of October, 2nd of October, 3rd of October, 4th of October, then 15th of October. Okay? The leap year is really pushing out Christmas, right? By one day. You are adding one more day. So another leap year, you're pushing it further and further. And everything was getting shifted. Easter was getting shifted. The equinox was getting shifted. So when they expected it to happen in calendar was not happening. So they had to correct it by deleting so many. And then what they did was, I'm just looking at time, folks, okay? Then what they did was, to make a correction, they said every century will not be a leap year. Although it is divisible by 4, centuries will not be a leap year. 2000 was a leap year. That's because it is a century, but it is also divisible by 400. So if it is a century not divisible by 400, it won't be a leap year. But if it is a century that is divisible by 400, it will be a leap year. So that is the correction that they made, and that is what they are following. See? And what the Russians did was, and all these Christian churches used to fight with each other. The Egyptian church, the Coptic church, the Eastern Orthodox church, the Roman church, they used to fight like anything. Even today, they have fist fights in Jerusalem, it seems. See? And so since it was introduced by the Roman Pope, the Coptic church and the Eastern European church said that we are not going to follow that. And the Protestants said that we are not going to follow that. So the dates were a mismatch. The Russia did not adopt this change until 1900. Okay, so the civic calendar in Russia has adopted it in 1918 when the communists came to power, but the church still followed the Julian calendar. And I'll explain why their Christmas comes on Julius 7. Now the Britain was not a Catholic country, okay? So Britain said, I'm not going to follow what the Pope said. So they said, I'm still going to follow the Julian calendar. But by 1751, they were finding that, hey, everything is getting messed up. See, things are not falling in place. So 1751, the King George II said that, hey, their first of the year used to start on March 25th. Okay. So in the year 1751, he said, see, it was going to be 1752 in the March 25th of 1751. He said that we're going to make some changes here. The beginning of the year is going to be January 1st. So we are going to shorten the year 1751. It will have only 9 months and not 12 months. Okay. We will start the year in January 1st and we'll call it 1752. Because 1752 ordinarily would have started only on March 25th. But this particular year is going to start in January 1st. Okay. And what we are going to do is we are going to delete some of the year. So So what they did was in September, they said September 1st, September 2nd, then we'll jump to September 14. Okay, so if you subtract 15 minus 4, it's 11. It is 14 minus 2 is 12. The reason they had to subtract one more day because this is 1582 and this is 1752. So some more correction to be made. Okay, now the Russians. Okay, now before coming to the Russians, I'm eager to go to that. I don't know why. In the year 1600, not much colonies were formed. See? Much of America was controlled by the French, a big chunk, okay? Not just Quebec in Canada. Big chunk was controlled by French, and it's only this one that was controlled by the British and the Spanish and all. The French and the Spanish and all adopted it because they were Catholics, and the population was so low, it really didn't matter. And even in 1752, let's see how much of America was controlled by Britain. Britain was controlling only so much. France was controlling all this pink area, pink or blue, and Spanish were controlling this. Again, the population of Europeans were not very much. So even in those days, America didn't matter very much. See? Okay? So only big thing was in Europe, who all adopted it. See? And this shows which countries adopted it. Even the Catholic countries took about 10 years. Germany, Protestant country, took 1600 years, and 1700, and other countries went to 1800, and Russia changed only in 1900, the corrections to the calendar. See? And because of this change, and George Washington's date of birth, they say they have two birthdays, according to the old calendar and according to the new calendar. So they have some fun by that. Yeah? So Russians, what they did was, see what this is for Jagdish Puri in particular. So the Russians, what they did was, when they had to make the correction, they had to delete one more day. So in February of 1918, they didn't have 1 to 13. They dropped all those days. Yeah? So they started from February 14th. Okay, so that is how they made the correction. Okay, for the 1582 correction, that is how they had to make the correction. And it was a communist country, so all these calendars here, what it's showing is that they were experimenting with a 6-day calendar, using a 6-day week, giving them a holiday on the 6th day. Every 6th day was a vacation. And after that, they became ambitious, and they said, let's give a vacation holiday every 5 days. So these are some of the examples of the calendar with a 6-day week, 5-day week and all. After that, they gave up and they went back to the 7-day week. See? It took too convoluted for them. Now, the next file is just explanation why the Russians celebrated on January 7th. Russian civil calendar is like our regular calendar. December 25th would have been the Christmas. But the Christian church, Orthodox church, follows the Julian's calendar, Julius Caesar's calendar, Julian calendar. So that means they have not been deleting the leap year every century. So what does a leap year do? It pushes the Christmas 1 day further, 2 days further, and so on. So in 1582, they had to delete 10 days. And when the English king had to delete 11 days, the Russians had to delete 13 days or something. So the December 25th has been pushed up in the Julian calendar by about 13, 14 days. See? So December 25th in the Julian calendar fell on the January 7th of the regular calendar that we follow. And since the Orthodox Church insists on following the Julius Caesar's calendar, they are celebrating Christmas on December 25th, but it falls on January 7th according to the latest civic calendar that we all follow. And that's how they do it on January 7th. Okay. They are also doing it on December 25th, but according to their calendar, Julian calendar. So evolution of the weeks and weekends. So the olden Egyptians had 3 seasons, okay? And 3 seasons each was divided into 4 months, and the 4 month had 30 days each, and they had 3 weeks, 10 days each, okay? So the 9th day and the 10th day was a holiday for all the craftsmen. So they used to have 2-day vacation every 10 days, even in those days, okay? So that is how the concept of weekend started, see? But then in the Christian world, they were taking a break every Sabbath. That was the Sunday. It came from the Jewish traditions. Jews also take a break once a week. So they had Sunday as the holiday. See? And Constantine, the king, he introduced a 7-day week, and Sunday was a holiday. And the Julius Caesar's calendar had 8 days, and the 8th day was a holiday. So they always had a concept of a week kind of thing, 1-day break. See? And then, and England was a big industrial power and so on. What they used to do was they used to take a Monday holiday. They used to say Saint Monday. Monday, we'll call it a Saint Monday, and we won't work on the Saint Monday. This happened in the 19th century. See? 19th century means 1800s, all those years. See? So Saint Monday became popular. People didn't work on a Monday. Monday became all right. But what the English did was they just took all the money and went for a gambling. They didn't have horse races. They had cockfights in those days. See? So they used to bet the money there and so on. See? And when the Industrial Revolution became more established, people became, life became stabilized and all, the church and all the tourists, all the businesses and all said that, hey, we should give another day off for all these hardworking people. See, let's make Saturday a holiday. See, so they were dropping the Monday and they were adopting Saturday. And they said that Saturday we will have a football game. See, that is how the Saturday football became popular. See? And then they used to go on a day trips. And that is where the tradition of day trip came. Saturday day trip. They used to go on a day trip on Saturday. They used to have football matches and so on. And that's how Saturday, Sunday became a break in the British Empire. See? And finally, it became established in America because Ford said that, hey, I am going to give 2-day a week vacation to all my employees. So that is how it started in America. See? And then the Roosevelt had some law which said that everybody is going to work 40 hours a week. And that is how we established 5 days a week. The unions became very powerful. They had union wages. They abolished child labor and so on. And okay, I think I can finish it. Just bear with me. I might take a few more minutes. I know you're all getting tired. It's a tedious thing, but bear with me. Okay. Yeah, take a break if you have to. Yeah?
How many more slides do you have, Ramu?
These should go reasonably fast, and I'll try to finish that, okay?
You don't want part 3?
I don't think so. I like
Okay. All right.
Okay. So we're going to the Hindu calendar. Yeah? And Hindu calendar, what they did was Hindu solar calendar, okay? Hindu solar calendar, people in Kerala and Tamil Nadu and Bengal and Assam, they all follow solar calendars. And what they do was, whenever there is Sankranti day is the day when the sun moves from one set of stars to another set of stars. See? When the sun moves from one set of stars to another set of stars, that sort of matches with the Greek zodiac sign. That is when the month changes, okay? So this was the sun, and they used to, all these star, the constellation were around it. With respect to the earth, when the sun changed positions here, they used to change the month, okay? And this was followed in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and in Bengal, and in Nepal, Assam, and Tripura, and so on. Others followed the lunar calendars. And our temple follows sort of more of Gujarati tradition, so it follows the lunar calendars. Okay. Now, the only problem between the lunar calendar, solar calendar, what they do is festivals, they still follow the lunar calendar. But Janmashtami, they have problem. Janmashtami falls on different days for them. Gokulashtami, Janmashtami. Besides that, every other festival falls on the exact dates. See? Now, after the independence, the government of India says that there are so many calendars in India. They're all mismatched, and some of them are even plain wrong. So they formed a committee, and they said that we will do all the scientific measurements for them. So there is a division of the Indian Meteorological Department in Calcutta who does all the measurements, and they publish everything for us. Okay, this is their website, and I will publish this presentation. You can go to their websites and see the publications. Okay, and they proposed two calendars. One is the tropical calendar, which is like and it was a 365-day calendar. They kept the same name that we use in the lunar calendar, but it was a 365-day calendar. It is closer to our regular calendar. See? So they have a concept of leap year, but they also wanted the calendar which follows the sidereal year. That means they follow only when the Earth goes around 365 days, we will change the month. And that was the solar calendar. So this is one of the reasons the Vaishakhi and all falls kind of almost 3 weeks after the Chaitra month, see? Because they are following the sidereal calendar. When the Earth goes 360 degrees, they say 1 year is over. But a tropical year means they follow the seasons. See? So they are diverging from each other. So as years go by, Vaishakhi and all will go further and further away until they make some corrections. See? And the Rashtriya Panchang, which is published by the Indian government, they have all these days. They give you all the tithi, when it starts, when it ends. They do the accurate measurement. This is the difficult part, and this is what all the Panchang guys never used to do properly. But they give you the dates properly. See? And which year do you follow? The Indians, they used to have the Salivahana year, which is the Saka year. Interesting, because the Saka people came somewhere from north of Iran, and we adopted them as Indians. See? So they used to follow the Saka year. According to the Saka era, it is 78 AD. See? But Vikrami year is the popular, which is followed in Nepal and northern India. According to them, it is 57. It starts in 57 BC, so the year is counted from there. And here, Saka year starts in 78 AD. And in Kerala, they have a Kollam era, and that starts in 824 AD. And Bengalis have a different starting year, 594 AD. So I can have my own era, Ramakesavan era, 78 according to that. I was born in 51. See? So you can have your own era if you want. See? Okay, so this is the Malayalam calendar, see? And they follow the Kollam year. And what they do these days is that they have a calendar according to the regular calendar, and they say when the Malayalam calendar days falls, or you can also get a calendar which follows the Malayalam lunar solar calendar, and they say when is the regular calendar days falling on. So you can get calendar either way. See? And I like their names of the month, which is sweeter. Meda, Medavam, Midnam, Karkadagam, Chingyam, Kanni, Tulam, Vrishchikam, Dhanum, Magaram, Kumbam, Meenam. See? It's a little more sweeter than the Sanskrit name. At least this is what I was used to, so I find it sweeter. See? And this is the Nepali calendar again. See? And this is a Tamil solar calendar, see? Which is also slightly, Tamils always have something different. See? And they have even different names. They have Chittirai, Vaigasi, Ani, Adi, Avadi, Purattasi, Aipasi, Kartigai, and so on, different names. Again, sweeter in some sense. Yeah? The Hindu solar calendars have another cycle. This is a cycle of 60 years. And there is no real astronomical significance here. It's more astrological, see? So we are in 2021, right? So we are in the
Sharwari.
Sharwari cycle, okay? So there's a 60-year cycle that they also follow, see? And now we are finished with the calendars. We did Indian lunar calendar. Then we went to the start of the Roman lunar calendar, then Julius Caesar's calendar. Then we came to the corrections that were made to the Julius Caesar's calendar in 1582. Then we came to the Indian solar calendars. And I said how the Vaishakhi is diverging from the Chaitra month, which is when the equinox happens. See? And now we are talking about time duration within a day, see? And there is something in the Western system, which is all we follow, hours and minutes and seconds and so on. And as I said, it's the Mesopotamians and the Sumerians who gave us 1 hour equal to 60 minutes, 1 minute equal to 60 seconds. And after that, the French took over and they have all these milliseconds and so on, see? Okay, so Western reckoning, they have 24 hours, which they adopted from the Egyptians. And 60 seconds came from the Mesopotamians, okay? And that's what I'm staying here. And the last correction to the calendar was done in October 1582. See? Now, here again, there is a solar day and a sidereal day. The problem is that, see, the Earth, suppose you're standing here and the sun is here at noon. If the Earth goes around 360 degrees, you would think that it'll be noon once again. Unfortunately not. You have to, the Earth has to move a little more for it to be noon again. But it is just a 4 minutes, the 4 minutes lag, okay? So it is 23 hours and 56 minutes and 4 seconds for the sidereal day. For the solar day, for a tropical day, it is 4 more minutes, okay? So it has to turn a little more. Okay? So the noon happens when the sun is over your head. See? There's a little difference there, see? And so if you depend on Earth for your days, it's they're confusing, see? And I'm on time, I'll be able to finish, okay? I may need 5 more minutes from you, see? Okay, and what they used to do was they used to have this, in the timekeeping, they just used to use the fingers. Eh? If the sun is 4 fingers up, it's 4 o'clock and other things. See? Then you had the sundial. The science behind sundial is very complex, but you just had to stick something on the ground and you get some shadows and you can follow that. See? I won't get into the math behind it. It's fairly complex, but that's what they used long time ago. And then they used to have a candle clock, okay? As the candle burned, they say 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and so on. And water clock was the most popular one, see? When the water drips and it fills up, that means so many minutes and so on. And then they used to have agarbatti clock, see? Okay. And water clock was the most popular. Unfortunately, all the water clocks used by Aryabhatta and others in India was melted by the second-hand traders. They got the brass pot and they melted it and sold it in the market. So we don't have anything from those days. See? At least in Europe, they have old clocks and all. We don't have any of those water clocks. See? And the Islamic intellectual built some sophisticated clocks. See? The next great improvement was the pendulum clock. It was suggested by the Galileo and somebody else made it after that. In 1656 was the first pendulum clock being made. See? And then we had the alarm clock, and then we had the digital clock, quartz crystals, and so on. And then they said that, hey, we will have a centralized clock that happens in the Greenwich, and we will electrically transfer that time to different parts of the country. So from the Greenwich clock, They used to transmit electrical signal to different parts of London to adjust their clock. And at one time, they even used to come to America. And after that, they didn't like that. Then they went to cesium crystals, and then they went to atomic timing. See? So these days, they don't care what Earth does. They just follow the atomic clocks. See? Right? And these are all the atomic clocks, okay? And they have a day, the line, what's it called, the day line in the map, because some parts of the day, some parts of the Earth, it is 24th, the other part, it is 23rd. But they adjust that line because there are a couple of islands which would have problems otherwise. Eh? So to keep them in the same day, they just adjusted the line a little bit. See? How are we on time? I have 6 more minutes. I might take another 5-6 more minutes, okay, so that I can finish it. See? And one thing I wanted to show you here was, here. And these machines, the atomic clock, they are sending, every second they are sending a signal in the software radio, see? And you can hear that if you tune your software radio, see? And I got that signal here, see? So it shows every second, hey, this is happening. So you can read that and adjust it. Okay. And the thing is that, remember I told you the Earth and Moon are going around the barycenter. The barycenter is inside the Moon, see? Inside the Moon here. See? No, inside the Earth, sorry. So the Earth is going around a center somewhere around the surface. The Moon is going around the same point. See? And the interesting point about Moon is that you will always see the same side of the Moon. It is rotating in a synchronized fashion. See? And that is because the Earth has controlled the Moon. And the Moon is trying to control the Earth. And in about 1 million years, Earth won't move either. See? It'll be stable. See? So it'll be nighttime all the time for some people, daytime for all the people. Yeah? But that'll be 1 million years away. See? Now, I'm almost done, folks, okay? Now, you must have seen dawn and the dusk like this, right? It is fully dawn, just about to dawn, and it is somewhat nighttime kind of thing, 3 different kinds of dawn, and they all have a name. The darker one is called astronomical twilight, and the middle one is called nautical twilight, and the third one is called the civil twilight. And they have precise measurements if you want. So there are some terms that you can use next time you see a dawn or dusk. And then where does here it just says that where did AM come from? AM is ante-meridium, before the midday, post-meridium, after midday. Now, if you want to know when you should call it early morning, late morning, you can follow my slides. I will send it to you. And this is the Indian. And in the Western thing, you know that it is in hours and minutes and seconds. What did the Indians use? Indians had started something during the Vikramaditya times. That was long time ago. And when Babur invaded India, that is one of the observations he made in his autobiography. So it was followed even until Babur's time, and it was followed even beyond that in India. And you will hear all these terms used in colloquial language. The terms that they used to do were gadi, sometimes spelled gari, gadiga, nariga in the southern India, and it's 24 minutes duration. Okay. Then we use the word pal. Pal. Pal is the minute, 24 seconds was the pal. Okay. And there is pahar. all the construction workers used to tell my mother that dopahar mein ho jayega. And pahar is 3 hours, see? And the day starts at 6 a.m. Dopahar means afternoon, okay? So 2-3 hours period. So dopahar, see? And so people have the last name Garyali. So you know the profession of their ancestors. They used to ring the bell. The bell used to be rung every 24 minutes. So if somebody's last name is Garyali, they used to be the bell ringer. And in India, they have this sundial that is in, this is in Indore, I guess, and this is in Konark, the Jantar Mantar in Konark. In India, they mainly used to use the water clock. And as I said, old water clocks are not available because they melted and sold it. See? And to give you a feel for how all these things are used in the everyday lingo, I just wanted to get a clipping from the Bollywood. See? Just a few more minutes. Okay.
Alhamdulillah, we are in the best time of the year, the last 10 nights of Ramadan. These nights are special to such an extent.
I think it's a good example where Gadi is being used. And I'll show you another one where Pal is being used. Deva.
पल भर के लिए कोई हमें प्यार कर ले झूठा ही सही पल भर के लिए कोई
Okay. There's some noise. Excuse me. Okay. Ah, shoot.
Ram, thank you very much.
No, folks, give me just 1 minute. I'm done. Okay. I'm just making a mistake here.
You got distracted by Hema Malini, Ramu.
Yeah, too much to digest. Too much to digest, Ramu.
Just 2 more slides, folks.
Kanubai is like your math problem.
Okay, there is one important slide I want to show you. That's why I'm just keeping you here. Okay, so the Pahar, Pal, and Gadi is still being used. And there are other songs in Bollywood too, Nimisha and Shanam and all, but I won't let you show that. These are some of the complex clocks made by the Islamic scholars. And in the Hindu Panchang, they have 5 parts to it. That's the day of the week, the Tithi, the Nakshatra, and Karana and Yoga. Karana and Yoga are not very popular these days, more astrological. These are only 3 days that's being used. Tithi and the Nakshatras. And the Tithi, what it does is, it has to traverse, moon has to traverse 12 degrees for it to be one Tithi. But the rule that moon follows is equal area is covered in equal time. So when moon is near the earth, it's a shorter Tithi. When it is away from the earth, it is a longer Tithi. Okay. So that's why the Tithis have different times. And the Nakshatra is, at what Nakshatra is the moon when you are born, see? So you got to keep track of that. The month, the Paksha, and the Nakshatra, see? And there are 27 Nakshatras, see? And this Karana is half a Tithi.
Ramu, you still have 30 slides, right?
No. Just
Why don't you do part 3? Because I have a lot of questions and people want to ask you some questions, right?
Yeah, we do.
But can I show you one thing before you leave?
No, we are not leaving till we ask you questions.
You can bring your dinner here.
Bring it. Go faster. You can finish it up fast.
Okay, I will, okay. Yeah, let me just show you one foil, okay? That's the main thing, see? Okay, as I said, the earth is moving like this. If you thought you are stationary at home, sitting, watching me, you're not. You're moving 1,000 miles an hour, round and round, see? And you are moving at 28 miles an hour around the sun, okay? And
Ramu, you said 28 miles per hour and per second.
Per second.
per second, okay, sorry. Yeah, and no, so,
It's like
Sorry.
28 miles per hour.
okay, here there is a mistake here. We are going,
Sun.
we are going at 67,000 miles an hour around the sun, folks, okay? And we are moving in a wavy fashion. And I want to show you two more things, and that's the great thing I want to show you. And the solar system is solar system is moving. So you are not only moving around the earth, you're all moving like this. And I'll show you the next one. So why am I losing all? Okay, then I just want to show you this one.
Looking from above the North Pole, the equator spins counterclockwise at about 1670 kilometers per hour. Relative to the sun, Earth orbits counterclockwise at 108,000 kilometers per hour along a path tilted 23.4 degrees to its spin. Within our local neighborhood of stars, our entire solar system is drifting 70,000 kilometers per hour, roughly in the
Okay. Now I'll go here, and then I just want to show you one more thing.
0.1 million kilometers per hour towards a thing we don't fully understand yet, simply called the Great Attractor. This is how you, on Earth's surface, are moving through the universe aboard Spaceship Earth. Okay, now stop. This is roughly 100 years of Earth's movement through space. This path we've traced, from where we began here, is the path you will take through the universe in your lifetime. You didn't buy a ticket for this ride. Your parents signed you up without asking. But nonetheless, it is quite literally the ride of your life. And as always, thanks for watching.
Okay, that was the file I wanted to. That was the file I wanted.
Wow.
Wow, very nice.
Very
Lot
nice.
of work.
Ramu,
Thank you so much. Very nice. So much.
you have the great patience. Great,
So the
great.
last one,
Great
so the
delivery.
last one was so impactful for me. I got 100 years. I'm moving through the space this way. What am I here for? See, what's my purpose in life?
Did you find the answer to those two questions?